blink of an eye, it'll all disappear. And we'll turn from this world to a world without end, where each sin that we've sown will be shown in our favor. This is our life, this is our labor, till it's all one. All is one. And it's all one. The light and the darkness, the sweetness, the sorrow, it's all one. The good and the bad, what's past and tomorrow, and it's all one. The near and the far, revealed and concealed in us, all is one.
And we are live. Hello, everyone. Asaf here from Israel. Seth, what's up from New Jersey?
Hey, hello from New Jersey. Hi, everyone. Hi, Asaf. Good to be back.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. We does feel good to be back every time on this show. We are the quarantine, and everyone is kind of still in quarantine, but is kind of getting out of it. We're going to talk about this today. Are we really going out of quarantine? What does that mean? Should we go out of quarantine? What's happening in the world right now? We're going to talk about it. We're going to bring some Kabbalistic insights into the table, as always. And we have a fascinating guest for you today. We're going to jam with a longtime Kabbalah instructor and Kabbalah student who is also a political scientist and an expert in, check this out, technologies that affect and change human behavior. We're going to talk about that later.
Could be useful.
Yeah. So Eran Shayovich is going to be with us later on. But before we begin all that jazz, let's just talk about what is happening to the quarantine a little bit. It's expanding, isn't it? Seth,
Yeah, we
talk
have
about it.
so this show started to take life. We were kind of blown away by how quickly it kind of caught fire around the world. It's not just a group of people in one place, and so we quickly saw that we were did not have the ability to manage this ourselves. And Denise, an amazing woman from Texas, she's living in Texas, began helping the team out with coordinating guests, and then Maria from New York joined us with curating incredible content from our teacher, all different kind of interviews and things that could be relevant. And then, of course, you all met him, I think, 2 shows ago and also last week. Bright from the UK joined us as kind of like a live producer and also a moderator in the chats. So I think we may have an audio situation, but can we at least get a video? Can we get a visual? Can we get
Let's
Bright
see
in?
the man behind the scenes.
Okay, so everybody, if you are on Facebook or you are on YouTube, this is Bright. There he is. Bright, we don't see you yet.
We will
But
see
this
him
is
in
Bright.
just a
So
second. Yeah.
Okay, if you have hi, Bright. Okay, that's Bright in UK. That's Asaf in Israel. That's Seth in New Jersey. So if you have a question on Facebook, if you're on there on Facebook or you're on YouTube and you'd like to come on to the show and ask a question, or if you're having an issue or want to get a message to us or something, that's your guy right there. Bright, is the mic working yet or not yet?
Not sure.
Okay. Okay. Anyway,
we'll
Bright,
settle
thank
for
you,
a
bro.
wave.
We'll be in touch over here on WhatsApp. Thank you. Anybody, any questions, want to be in touch with us, want to get a message to us, looking for a link from one of our guests or something like that, Bright will help you with everything. That is the man.
And
right there.
Bright
So-
also picks up, all kinds of relevant input and questions that you guys are putting into the chat, and makes sure that we, get to that. Hopefully during the show, even if it doesn't happen at the moment, right after you put it into the chat. So definitely go ahead and give us your input, give us your questions, your suggestions, your thoughts, your ideas. Chat with us. This is what the chat is for. Let's start from tell us where you're watching from. That always gives us a great feeling. So let us know where you're watching from. Bright, yeah, we'll go ahead and look into the chat and see what's happening there. And yeah, so Seth, what are you up to?
Thanks, man. Okay, he's gonna. Okay, cool. Uh, Asaf,
Yeah.
a lot of changes are happening. Emotional changes are happening in quarantine now. Not just things that we see on the news, because really, when an emotion strikes us, when an emotion hits us, that's what compels us to move. It's clear. I remember from the George W. Bush election, like there was even a book, "What's Wrong with Kansas" or something like that, is where people actually voted against their best interest, but because they had they emotionally connected with the candidate at the time, meaning they voted for policies that were going to put them out of work and everything, but they so emotionally connected with this candidate that that's who they voted for, even though it was kind of against their best interest. So it really takes emotion more than just a fact to get us to move. And I think that's the frustration that a lot of people have. Why don't we listen to science and all those kind of things? Because unless we feel that it actually is on our skin, that there's something that's going to actually affect us, it's hard to move. So governments now, according to the decision of some governments, I know in your country, and I know in the United States is basically like 50 countries. Each state operates in a
Right.
sense with its own budget and according to its own um, state level government. So some states are opening up. I know your country is also opening up. We're gonna learn just how foolish and short-sighted these governments are.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. So, it's kind of
Why
like
do we say that, Seth? Why do we say that?
we
Let's
say that. So,
unpack
so
that.
first of all, there's no kind of personal opinion about this, right? It's not like I think that this politician's an idiot. It's more about what we understand from the wisdom of Kabbalah, looking at the system of nature and where things are going. I don't think a thunderstorm is an idiot if it affects something, in a way that seems to me negative. I just understand it's a force. There's something that's happening, and if you get in its way, there'll be a consequence. So if nature's coming like a wave, and so you know what happens before a tsunami? The ocean recedes back, like very, very far. Meaning, like if you go down to the beach before the tsunami wave hits, you can walk out like hundreds of feet. Even there was images before that last big
Yeah.
Japanese tsunami that you can
Right.
walk out. So what happens is a person goes outside, is like, oh my God, look, we can walk all the way out
Oh,
there.
it's
This is so
actually
cool.
it's further away than I thought it is. Yeah.
Look how much beach we have, right? And they don't, but the birds, and by the way, where's all the birds? Where'd all the animals go? I don't know, but look at all this beach we have. We have all this beach, right? Why did the birds and everything and on the animals already leave? Because they're not just looking at what's right in front of my eyes. They're feeling the
They're in
wave that's
tune.
about.
They're in tune with the natural system, which we're
Right.
not.
So
Yeah.
so if the eye sees that the wave is receding, if we're not in tune with the natural system, we don't see what's coming next. So with it's kind of like a drug addict, or maybe an alcoholic, or maybe someone who's not like, they wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
I feel all
Today's
right
good.
today.
Today's
Today's a good
good.
day.
Maybe
I can use one more day today.
I
I
can
can.
shoot up again. Yesterday was
Yeah.
crap, but today works.
I got up, I had a coffee, had a cigarette. I'm ready. I
Yeah.
can shoot up again. Yeah. So this is what I mean by how foolish and short-sighted we are, because we're missing the sentiment that we were expecting to see happen in the public didn't really sink in. People are just ready to go back, go back, and missing what that means to go back, and missing what it means to go forward. And maybe it just means that, well, that's what's on my mind right now before we
Oh,
unpack it
okay.
even further.
Okay. Wait. Let me just add to that a couple of things I've seen. So okay, check this out. I'm going to show it to our viewers now, and I'll show it to you as well. So there's this study from China actually, just a few days ago was published, saying that the coronavirus has already mutated into at least 30 different strains. Now, if you look into what actually they found and everything, they saw that the more aggressive strains are up to 270 times more viral than what we know right now. They're also deadlier, but over almost 300 times more viral. That's insane when you think about the impact this can have. And also scientists found, some of them, that we have reason to think that coronavirus just might not be something we can vaccinate for, and we might just have to live with it. So while our governments are talking about, okay, let's just go back to business, let's go back to work, let's get everything back to normal, back to what it was, this is the paradox that we're living in, that we may very likely and quickly find ourselves, in a second outbreak, a second spread of this virus that is even deadlier, and things might not be as easy to manage as they were right now. Also, here's another interesting thing. It just goes to show how psychological this situation is. How you said short-sighted. I think short-sighted is really the word to describe what's happening to humanity right now, when we were just thinking, let's go out of the lockdown, get the economy back, go back to work, get everything working again. So air pollution in this lockdown period is down about 60% worldwide. Now, air pollution kills about over 4 million people a year. That is way, way more than what the coronavirus has done in terms of deaths so
It would be
far.
amazing to see like traffic
It's
deaths, air pollution, all these other things that
Dude, just China. In China alone, they estimate that this period of lockdown time with less air pollution saved about 70,000 lives. So that's ridiculous when you think about it. So what's the difference here? Air pollution also affects the respiratory system. It's actually very similar to how coronavirus ends up killing people. But what's the difference? While the coronavirus is loud and quick and immediate, and there's a reason to be afraid of it, we don't know how to deal with it. Air pollution, which we can handle, we can do less of, we can make sure it doesn't happen, it just kills people slowly and indirectly, and not immediately and silently. So we agree with over 4 million people worldwide dying from air pollution. It's mind blowing when it's ironically scary when you think about just how we are addicted. That's really the word, addicted we are to our ways. So
it's not just our fault, Asaf, that we're addicted, because there's been a lot, and of course we learn in the wisdom of Kabbalah that everything is coming from one source, but we have been indoctrinated. I mean, over here we grew up on Disney. I don't know if you guys grew up on Disney and things like that, but from a very young age, all children are traumatized. Bambi's mother dies, like right away, like a parent dies in every Disney thing, or some kind of tragedy, or there's some kind of sexual exploitation of young people. It's like we are traumatized, everyone, from a very young age. It's like that. So it's not a wonder that it's so difficult for, like people say, about the Jews, like, why didn't they just get it? They should just understand. Why are they so stiff-necked? God said do this, why don't they do it? Whatever. It's not so clear like that. There's a path of coming to consciously awaken, and all of these kind of traumas and all these kind of suffering. That the purpose actually is, if we have a goal, a positive goal, and this is what depends on us now. Okay, the stage has been set. All these traumas, fine, all this crap media we were all raised on, and poison foods we were raised on, and crap news and wars and all this. Okay, that just sets the stage. But now, in order for us to elevate We have to invert that whole thing. So when suffering comes, what a person needs to do is immediately understand why it's coming from, what's the underlying kind of meaning behind it, and then how to move away from it fast. So if we are, for example, um, I don't know, training for the Olympics, so that when the alarm rings at 3 o'clock in the morning for me to get up and train, it's not suffering. It's like my path to the gold medal. When, yeah,
Now, let me translate that. Okay, so basically, we're saying, first of all, we are glued to, addicted to our egos. That's our nature. You
to our
know,
pains, even, it's like
yeah,
just give me a quick fix, and I'm going right back to my suffering.
right. There's this parable, Kabbalistic parable, actually, that's quite beautiful. Help me well express it, right? Where even if the drop of poison, is given to you that will kill you, but it's sweet, you'll still take it and swallow
We do
it.
this every day. This is how we live.
This is what's happening. But here's the thing, though: the coronavirus, this quarantine time, did give us human beings kind of a sneak peek into what the world could be, into what we
It's a
might
qualitative, right?
be able
Right.
to
What?
do. It's suddenly, oh, wait a minute, you know what? You may not have to go back to working the whole day, every day in work, in jobs that most of you don't even like. Maybe you can spend more time with your families. Maybe you don't have to pollute your air, your water, your life, and just live in order to consume and buy things
You know,
that you don't really care
you know what
about
it's
and other
like?
people.
It's like if you have a
Maybe you don't
teenage.
have to live that way.
It's like you have like a 16-year-old kid, and he's like impressing you all week, and you're like, you know what, honey? We can go. We can finally go away this weekend. Like we can trust him, And then it's like
Exactly.
you think because he saw, maybe he understands, and then you leave, and
And then,
they have a party, they ruin
exactly.
the house.
Oh.
So yeah, so it's a qualitative. This virus didn't come and smash us all over the head. It really came in a
It,
qualitative way to, uh, but so far it seems that
it's human nature is stubborn, and what can we gotta raise consciousness and connection above that in order for us to really elevate ourselves above our human ego. That's where nature really wants us to go, according to the wisdom of Kabbalah, to consciously rise above our ego and be partners with nature in creating a better world. Okay, let's
let's
uh, let's hash over some of these things with our guest. How about that?
let's do it. I had
Let's
an
do it.
important question to ask you, but I'm gonna let it brew
Okay.
until we get
I
messy
think
with our
that
guest.
maybe our viewers too have questions, but we will take them right after we chat with our guest today. And we're bringing him in. Eran Shayovich, he is a political scientist and also an expert in various technologies that affect human behavior. And he's also a longtime Kabbalah student and instructor. Eran, how are you doing? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
We
We
hear
can.
you.
Hey, man.
Not bad. Yeah, not bad.
Okay.
Hi.
I don't have all these gadgets like you, but I'm trying my best. Maybe I'll need to invest in such a mic.
You're supposed to be a technological, master. So
No, you're like overdoing it, but my thing is less of these gadgets. I'm more into social systems and how you create what some people call nudging, some people call manipulation in order to change behaviors. But this is it's not
mm.
in the mics yet.
Oh, okay. Let me throw at you a question right off the bat. Okay. So
Okay.
I don't know if you've been listening to what we started kind of discussing here in the last few
Yes,
minutes.
I like that tsunami thing. Although I'm counting on it that if Israel will get a tsunami, my house will be on the coast because they say the sea will come inland.
Can you? Is it maybe technology is the savior with regards to everything we talked about, changing human behavior, getting us to be more aware and, less short-sighted, more conscious of what may happen when we're, disrupting the balance of nature and just thinking ahead more?
I'm not so sure because if you look on what's working, then most of the technological tools and systems that work on the automatic level, meaning not on the reflexive level of a person, not on his conscious, but more on automatic habits, instincts. Take, for example, all the gamification systems that you have in Facebook or in gambling apps, for example, or in a casino. So they are all working on a very I wouldn't say like animal kind of thing, but very low instincts that operate. Also, for example, in the with the COVID-19, if you look on systems that were used in China, in Israel, in Europe, they deal more with the restricting certain actions, checking and giving you a very simple feedback. So I can't really say that there are a lot of examples how technology itself can rise a person in a conscious level. We try to do that, for example, with diet or with certain medical regimes. We try to do that with apps or with sport, but we're not really there. Like especially if it's not something very immediate. Like if you talk about food and how many calories you consume, or if you talk about sport and how much sport did you do, then you can use technology to give you a very quick feedback. But if you're talking about a social thing, like if you're talking about a social change, giving people the feeling that we're connected, it's not so easy.
Iran, we have viewers from Norway, Canada, Ghana, Philippines, Israel, New York, Togo, Texas, Soweto, South Africa, New Orleans, United Kingdom, and there's a couple questions we're going to get to. But just want you to know who you're speaking to right now. Is there? Do you see a way to direct human behavior through? What are the ways that human behavior? Because the problem that we're facing now is that people just don't see the cataclysm. People don't
And
see the
also an
problem.
alternative future. I think it's both things. They don't see the cataclysm that may happen, and they don't see an alternative future. How do we deal with that?
unless
I think.
unless it comes and and punches them in the face or
Yeah.
burns their house down or something, a person doesn't feel that this possible future is real. And the most familiar and safest thing they know, even if it's total torture, is to go back to my debt, to go back to my traffic, to go back to everything. So can you do you have some insight into how to direct human behavior so that people can get some cues to start to somehow see something that maybe they're not, to see something good in front of them that they're not able to see yet?
Yes, we call it education. It's actually the art of bringing the future into the present. That's what we do with our children before they go out and become savages. Problem is that we're not used to think of education in a way that we should educate people on how to live their lives. We used to think about education as giving tools to succeed in your own life, especially in Western regimes. So but education can also be in a form of giving examples. So I think one of the best things that happened with all this crisis is the examples we are gathering to our collection. So everyone has like new experiences that he never had. What does it mean to be home alone, concealed from the world? How does it feel when all the world together, all of humanity is dealing with a huge crisis and it happens to everybody together? How does it feel that the enemy is not something that you can blame from the other party or the other nation or the other people, although people try to do that, but it's not so useful. So there are really, what will happen if we will get stuck without food? So there are really a lot of questions and examples that we got out of this crisis, which accumulate. And what we can actually do is decide where we want to put the, like, how do you say, projector? I don't know, like, how do you say, like, the stage light, like, where
Yeah.
do you want the spot to be? And
Spotlight.
Spotlight.
yeah, the
Yeah.
spotlight. Yeah, that's the word I was missing. Thank you. So, do you want the spotlight to be on the actions that people did to help one another, on what the medical people did in order to save life, or do you want the spotlight to be about how we fought with one another, and how we waited to go back to what was? But I think people got a lot of look. If you think about it, it's really amazing. Like all the images of nature, it's like it's like a Chernobyl documentary, but going worldwide. It's like, so a lot of things, and people actually missing hugging somebody, feeling for somebody. People actually missing being together. It's I think it's very special, and it makes people think. And of course, that we as humans are creatures of habit, and we tend to forget what was 5 minutes later, and still it really, like, cultural changes happen from sometimes from a spark, from small groups that actually put the spotlight on a certain point, and then
So that's what we need to dig into a little bit more now. Is it was where that spotlight needs to be. Emily, there's a bunch of questions. Emily on Facebook says, "Are we going to go back to that life again? Is it possible to go back?" And what I'm worried about is what you said. Okay, so it's true. I saw a video on my feed this morning of cities all around the world where there was wild animals that came out. In Africa, it's one kind of animal. In Paris, it's another kind of animal. But cities everywhere, there's different kind of animals everywhere in public. You guys probably saw it also, but the problem is that in a month from now we could all be back in traffic at the drive-through at Starbucks, and that can be just like something that happened in March or April, and now we're in a new place. So the question, again, I'm going to come back to it again, even though you kind of answered it already: how can human behavior be directed by what cues? So what you said was through these examples, through things we this is the premise of the show today, is that it has to, unless we feel something, it's not enough to just kind of see it. We need to feel that it's affecting our life. And so where does that spotlight need to go more? And you started to say on this, maybe a small group. And also Emily's question, if you can tie it all in, are we going to go back to that life? Is it possible to go back to that life?
first of all, everything is possible. People went through huge traumas. We had in Israel the Holocaust Day a few days ago, and you heard stories about people going through hell and then going back to the city where they were born in order to find a family and start over again. So we tend, in times of crisis and uncertainty, to go for the things that we are used to do. So we'll try to do that. Now, nobody really knows if we are actually finished with this, because even if people are getting out of the lockdown and going back to work, still many are unemployed. We're only starting the economical crisis. In the States, they gave more money, like 8 times from what I know, than in 2008, and this is only the beginning. And you're having whole industries that don't know yet how they're gonna go back. So there's a lot of uncertainty before us. Um, and also, uh, but I think it's really individual. If you're talking about who will go back, there were people that actually suffered during this time. There were people that enjoyed. There were people that actually went through huge questions. Is this the life that I want to have? Am I having the life, or am I in a rat race? And some people decided that this rat race is actually their choice. Okay, so different people did individual choices, and I think that it's gonna linger on as they go back and they meet people that went through the experience differently. Now, can we direct can we direct human behavior? That's really a huge question, and I'm telling you that historically, regimes or nations that try to do that, in many cases, caused big disasters. But there are a few options. One is public policy. So if, for example, they would decide that beside taking care of the economy and taking care of the health, we need to take care of our solidarity. Because if you
But
won't do that,
do you really think that some politician, I mean, why are we going to even go down this road? Is it possible that some politicians can actually wake up and say, you know what, I realized we all need to be united and
look, I don't know how it is in the States, because I know
not
that.
good?
Yeah, I know it's not good. I heard, I read about the widow of. Doesn't matter. Actually, I know that the situation is not good, but the question is how much do the decision makers understand the problem? So, for example, in Israel, I'll give you an example. If now 100,000 people will stop paying taxes, or say, you know what, the country doesn't help me, so I don't help the country, and they go and revolt, nobody can do anything for them in such a mess. And so if the regime won't take care of creating this atmosphere that we are all in this together, that we need to, everybody should play his part in this time we're going through, and build this social resilience, we're not going to go through this trauma.
No. So excuse me, we have here something opposite, because here you have one party who's trying to take down the president, for example, and it may be, now I'm not saying what's going on, but it's very possible that half of the country is trying to keep us in lockdown for political reasons or for economic reasons, and then the other half of the country is trying to open it up for political or economic reasons. So you don't have, you completely, you actually have two opposing forces work. You don't have the ability like you might have in a smaller country to
Yes. So again, the question is which voice will prevail. Okay. So if you have a huge mass of people that understand that we need to go through this together, or we're going into a polarized society and we don't know how we're going to go through this crisis at all. So this is one layer like that we can use, which is this public policy of giving or putting the spotlight on what is good, how people are helping. I'm sure also in the States you have a lot of examples of people coming out and helping others, and they doing their part and even more. And the question is, do you put the spotlight on that or on what you said, for example? The other thing is in the media. So, will we be able to create some kind of voice that will say, you know what, we have this, and it's really a question how this crisis is going to go. It's very, very delicate, because if you have a huge crisis, everybody's only caring about his food, and you cannot talk with anybody. It's like animals, and you have a problem there. And on the other hand, if the crisis is going too light, then nobody cares. Everybody is trying to get back to what it was. But if we're going to stay in this moderate range for a long time, I think more and more people will open up and ask, okay, what do we actually want to do with this? Okay, do we want to change our society? Do we want to use this crisis as an opportunity for change? And for example, in the big recession of 1921, it was the time with a lot of innovation. Like you have so many inventions that were created at that period of time. Because sometimes in a time of crisis, you start to think differently. You start, like, reality forces you to go out of your comfort zone and go to somewhere else.
Yeah,
And
they
I
say
think that
necessity is the mother of all change or all
Yeah, and
inventions. Yeah.
I think that people will ask themselves about even if the country, if the country in large is going down the drain, people ask themselves about their communities. So what am I doing in my community? Okay, and how do I want my community to change? And if people will have more free time, and they will do a change, because I'm sure that a lot of the people who listen to us, when they were closed at home, suddenly they found some time to redecorate something here in the house, or throw away a lot of garbage here, because this is what we do. We try to optimize our life for the better. And if we have more free time from this, we try to invest it there.
But the question is though, and Julia Calandrella on Facebook is asking, do you think we might be headed for a revolution in the U.S. once things get really bad? So there's certain people now who are taking this time to better their stockpile of ammunition. They're taking the time. They went out and they bought all of the guns. I mean, the gun sales during this has been off the charts in the United States. So for sure people will be looking for ways to optimize their life, and some people think the way to optimize their life is to overthrow the tyrannical government is coming to take away my freedoms. That is how some people are. They're not organizing their living room or their office, they're organizing their gun collection and their ammunition. So the question is, how do we help to direct it in a way that's good?
Let me add to that. You said something on that I found very insightful, that education is really the art of bringing the future into the present. So, okay, if you had the means, how would we do that? What kind of future, can we bring into the present so that we can enact change?
So if we had like all the means, and we could like fantasize, there are
Yes, fantasize away.
there are three rules to get out of trauma, any trauma, be it a tsunami, a war, or a pandemic. We need to have some kind of a vision of the society we want to live in. We need to work together. We need to do it together. Nobody can do it alone. And the third rule is that we need to be active about it. We cannot wait, because if you're passive, you're getting into blaming everything, and you become very aggressive. And that's why people are buying ammunition, because they feel helpless and they're afraid that somebody will come in. By the way, ammunition is not the only problem. Another problem is that while many people are starving, you have a lot of discussion about very rich people that only talk about how to take this crisis as a financial opportunity and make a lot of money out of it. Okay?
Right.
So that even magnifies the feeling of depression of the state I'm in if I'm hungry for food. So if we could do like whatever we can, I would advise Trump every day in his, now anyway they're saying that his daily briefing are getting too political because there is no health issues anymore. So I would tell him, now take the daily briefing, and let's talk about how to build this nation as a nation again. How every one of us can contributing in something. How can we strengthen our relationship in the community and in the state? And there are examples. Again, I'm sure that there are always examples. The reality is not black and white. Okay, so I know, for example, about a lot of doctors that flew from all places in the states to New York to help them. I'm sure that there are people doing all kinds of deeds. And if you make these people into your cultural heroes, and if you talk about these examples, and if you show how we are in this together, and if you show examples of millionaires that are willing to contribute of the money to help others, and if you give the emphasis on this feeling, in the end, it's a feeling. A nation is a feeling. A society is a feeling. The economy is a feeling. And we tend to neglect this word feeling because it looks like, like a storytelling of children or something. But everything in the end is a feeling. Think of yourself. When you first found out about COVID-19, it seemed like some kind of Chinese something, we didn't care. because nobody around you cared. And when everybody got locked down, you did things you never thought you'd do. You stayed at home for weeks, not going out. Who thought that's possible? And
Right.
then when everybody started going out, then you started feeling, you know what? Corona, what Corona? I don't remember it. Because we are social creatures, and if everybody talks about something and everybody's into it, we immediately go with the flow for the good or the worse. So we need to move the boat, so we'll go for the better. But this is really like fantasizing about it. And it's really hard. I know from Israel, it's really hard talking with the decision makers about making this change. They're too much into health and economy. What can I tell you? We try to be optimistic.
Maybe last question, Eran. First of all, I think that's profound, what you just said about how just really, really drilling home the point of how we're social creatures and we're driven by our feelings. And if we want to see, the future more connected and better, we need to create a feeling that we're doing it, that it's possible, put the
That's
spotlight on it.
one sentence. It's easy when you have a crisis, because when you have a
Hmm.
crisis, you have a common enemy. It's much easier to unite against the danger than in a regular state
It
when
seems
everybody.
impossible to do it if there's no crisis. We were talking about suffering earlier, about all these.
And now you have a crisis.
And
You
it's
have the
also
best,
it's a
like a
unique
global
crisis.
crisis.
It,
It's a global crisis. Nobody's killing anybody. It's
exactly.
like the best crisis you can get.
Could you imagine if somebody came in August and they're like, "All right, everybody, just everyone go home. We're going to shut down every business. We're going to do it for 2.5 weeks, right? Everyone just go home. We're going to shut everything down. Everything's going to be fine. And then after that, we'll be able to go back to life." Nobody would listen. Like 0.0001% of the world would
Hmm.
listen. But then comes COVID-19, and then it's like
Yeah.
this. It's like, how can you get someone to move without the crisis?
Okay, I'm gonna go a bit kabbalistic here a little bit. Okay, so there is a
Go
partner
for it.
in this whole situation, which is nature. Nature is, in getting involved. Lady Corona came for a visit, and all of a sudden, we're witnessing how the world can change like this, how the whole of humanity can change its ways in a matter of days. So on one hand, we're getting this kind of assistance and educational sort of educational period phase from nature, governed by nature. But then nature maybe now goes away for a second, and the corona maybe becomes something not as frightening, and then it's our part. So what is our part? How do we work in tandem with what nature's doing?
Yeah, okay. You know what a black swan is? You know a theory of black
Tell
swan?
everybody.
Tell
Okay,
us.
so a black swan is something that you didn't predict. You didn't predict even in your worst scenarios. It came and it has consequences that you cannot handle. It's like much over your head. And most of the time, it creates all kinds of disasters and problems. Okay, this is a black swan. Now, a black swan usually is caused, for example, you can think of 9/11, you can think about this COVID-19, you can think about the subprime crisis, something that nobody really prepared for, and it came. The COVID-19 itself is not a black swan because everybody talked about a virus. The consequence of us staying at home and everything that you described was a black swan. Okay,
Okay.
so what actually is a black swan? If you want to talk Kabbalist, in a Kabbalistic kind of way, a black swan is that you looked on reality as a linear reality of cause and effect, and suddenly you reveal something in the magnitude of a network, meaning that you have the butterfly effect, that something very small caused this huge viral effect in all of the nature, in all of the network. Think about the word viral, okay? It means about spreading in the network, okay? Now, we as humanity are getting much more connected. For example, the fact that the Ebola didn't went worldwide is because it happened in small villages. But if Ebola would happen, like AIDS, for example, through airports and airplanes, you would have Ebola much before you, a long time ago, before COVID-19. Now, what do I want to say here? We are getting much more connected as humanity. And this is the process of nature that will reveal how much everything is more connected. And in a more connected reality, you have a much more complex system. And a complex system is much more sensitive to every fluctuation. How do you say that? I'm not pronouncing it.
Yeah, fluctuation. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So every small butterfly, like the butterfly effect, yeah, every small butterfly can use its wings to create this viral effect. So we are, without being a prophet or something, we are, as humanity, are going to have much more of this, meaning much more of these black swans. Okay, much more of a very
Just because we've become exponentially
connected.
interconnected. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And this is true for the good or for the bad. Unfortunately, from nature, if it's like an unconscious process, we get it as a bad thing. But it's also working for the good. Meaning, you, Seth, can be optimistic that even this show might create a huge change because you never know. So you need to act all the time, okay? And maybe one in a million, you get it viral and that's it. And you created a change that you haven't ever imagined, okay? So
Can you speak exactly to that point for Missa Holmes and Lawrence and Bright and Philippa and all of the people, Debbie from Texas and Carmela and Azukina and all these, Yelena and Abraham in Guadalajara and all of these people who are connected from all around the world? Can you speak to that point for all of the people watching here for in their life?
Yeah, I can say that this virus actually showed us how we are all interconnected more than before. And this means that each one of us, just like each one of us could bring the plague to millions of people around us if we wouldn't act according to what we were asked to, just in the same way, each one of us can bring a good virus to all the people around us. And this virus starts from having a change. They become more afraid, but they don't really change. So better show them, emphasize again, not invent. Take the good examples from the time we went through. Put a spotlight on them. Talk about how we can create a better reality like this. And start it even in your own family, and in your own community, or in your own that, or you're steering away from the network. So it's like.
So everyone here, we used to see reality.
Just and another sentence, it's all about circulation. Everything in life, water, blood, oxygen, it's all about circulation. Economy, now why is the problem? Because you cut the circulation. So if everything is about circulation, it's very important to ignite one another. Because if you go it alone, you'll run out of battery real quick. But if you pass it to somebody else and he holds you and he holds them, and we give these small examples, then we can carry on for a long time.
3 rules to get out of trauma from Eran Shayovich. One,
no,
we need.
Actually, it's in the literature.
Okay, in the literature that you reminded us of. One, we need to have some kind of vision, positive vision of the future. One, we need to do it to get. 3, we can't wait, and that also wraps in completely to what you just said, that we're no longer living in this kind of linear, like billiard balls kind of life, but we're existing in a network, and there has to be the circulation. It has to keep moving, otherwise it stagnates. But every single one here passes the blood, passes the life energy through the system together.
And everyone's a butterfly that can make a tornado.
Yeah, everyone is a butterfly. And another sentence that you need to remember about trauma, that every trauma in the present is an experience in the past. So, be thankful for what was. The present is always in a struggle, but if we do it together, it's gonna go okay. Don't worry. Even in the United States,
Beautiful.
Thank you, brother.
All right, that was great.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for being with us and jamming with us. Thanks a lot, man. All right. So
A lot of
yeah,
gems there.
yeah,
Lot of
that
juicy
was
gems there. I just filled up my notes here.
yeah, yeah, and also optimistic. I gotta say, in a sense, realistic optimism from Eran Shayovich, I would say.
Why don't we hear the Gretas and the Greenpeaces and all of these environmentalists right now out there shouting to everybody, don't
Let's
go
not
back
go
to
back.
work.
Yeah, yeah. Why don't we?
Everybody stop. You know, I don't hear them. Maybe they are. I'm not seeing them in my news, but where are the environmentalists now who are saying, everybody stop, don't go back to work? I think is my theory,
It's
my whatever
possible.
it's
They
called.
were still working in the old world. Remember that. So
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think
you know,
their job was kind of to be against, meaning I'm against the oil company or I'm against this thing. I'm against and to just from here they don't have a platform because they get their money, they get their power and their honor from being kind of against something else. It's even that kind of uh, framework is disintegrating in this. There's nothing for even for that to get up and shout, I'm against this or that's even going away. Like the new thing that's I keep trying to squeeze to get to this point in every show, and you keep trying to remind me that we don't need to in every show, bring it to a point that everyone can have a nice little thing to take home at the end of that show. Uh, but I can't help this impulse in me to want to bring to our viewers, our audience here, our friends here, how important they are, how important each one here is, that we're understanding what kind of system we're operating in. We're educating ourselves about what's going on, and that we need to be, since we are in this network, it's like, for example, there's no blood flowing from here to your hand. Like if this is the part of the body that you are and you're not flowing, then that part just dies.
yeah.
So each person, wherever they are in the network, is an important person, whether you're red, whether you're black, whether you're yellow, whether you're white, whether you're woman, whether you're man, whether you're gay, whether you're straight. I don't know um, what other
Aspects of
categories you may be.
yeah.
Yeah, whatever category. It requires all of us. We are in an integral system now. That's it. We have arrived in an integral system, and our good future counts on everyone. The problem we have, Asaf, is we're not selling something. If we could only say just like, and now buy these new glasses for just $19.95.
Yeah.
We don't have a product like that. Or just sign up for this course
Nature,
here.
that's the whole thing. Nature doesn't want us to be buyers and it being a provider. It wants us to be partners.
So,
That
so then it
is
feels
the whole
abstract.
thing.
Like, what is it that I'm holding on to? It's a
But
feeling.
it's a feel. But this is the thing. We think Eran said it well. I think we are rational beings that only look for these cold calculations to work by, to go according to. But really, we are emotional beings driven mostly by our emotions. By the way, there's a whole
Save the
field
quarantine
that
for just $19.95. Buy this glass now.
yeah. But here's the thing. Taking into account that we are a network, taking into account that each of us is a butterfly, taking into account that that nature is built like a pyramid, and so even though there's tons and tons and tons of steel, in the world, it doesn't make as much influence as one plant does or one bee does. And the same thing with humanity, and the same thing inside humanity. There's also a pyramid of human consciousness. And those who are most conscious of where humanity needs to go, of what nature is pushing us towards, are those that have more influence. And so everything we see in the world, remember when this quarantine just started and we started seeing all kinds of elected officials and celebrities and others starting to speak the words that we've been, kind of talking about for years. Yeah. But we saw how a certain kind of awareness can spread in the network. And this is what's required of us. Those who are aware, those who are conscious, we need to work on being more connected. We need to work on our desire to see a more connected world. And that does and will influence the whole pyramid, the whole structure. And because
So
we're
why
getting...
why are there so few of us?
Because we don't, probably because that's what nature needs, you know? It's we shouldn't see things with our, quantitative eyes. We should see them through our qualitative eyes. And
It's like your eye. I thought about this question. Why is there so few of us? Imagine like the eye as an organ, right? So the eye sees, I don't know, let's take something, I don't know, person's into cars or whatever, so the eye sees like a sports car. I'm talking
right.
about in the old world, for example. And
Okay.
now a person takes his entire body, his entire life, and puts all of that energy into earning enough to get that. Like the eye just saw it for a second, this
Yeah.
tiny little organ here, just boom, one side, and now the entire organ, the entire body is directed for a year and a half, 2 years to work, just to do that. So it's kind of that same thing when we're talking about quantity versus quality. It's like we need to hit upon what is this big goal, and then the entire body of humanity can activate towards it. But we need to be confident and see what's really happening. We are the kind of like that eye that can see already what's happening, and not that we're existing just like an animal who's not an animal who sees the storm coming, but an animal who's just just following his animal desires.
And speaking of eyeballs, Bright just mentions to us that we have a bunch of viewers from many different places like Cameroon and West Africa and New York and Turkey and New Jersey and Nigeria and Israel. And it's so great to feel that we're building this new vision together. And I just want to, maybe we're about to conclude here, right? So I just want to maybe say something on a visionary note. Maybe you say it first. On a visionary note.
I'm all ears, man. I want to hear. I want you to wow me.
Here's the thing. We can assure you, based on what we know from the wisdom of Kabbalah, that doesn't matter how it seems, doesn't matter how it looks, doesn't matter what they say on the news, nature is relentless in bringing us to one very specific, sublime goal. And that is recognizing its quality, itself. The governing force of nature wants us to be partners with it. And so he or she or it is a quality of love and bestowal, an unconditional, infinite love and joy and bliss. And that's where we're moving. Now, how fast it's gonna be, how smooth the road is gonna be, whether it's gonna be bumpy, whether we're gonna have a lot more viruses that we'll need to deal with until we realize this, that's up to us. But you can be sure that that's where we're going. And so that's where we want to be. We want to be in the director's seat. We want to see things from nature's point of view. Let's look there. Let's want that. And we'll see how reality is changing faster than we can ever imagine. And as Eran said correctly as well, humanity is only becoming more connected. Interdependence, interconnection is not something we can stop. This is an inevitable, exponentially increasing process, and so changes are going to happen faster than we can even imagine. And every little change of attitude, positive change of attitude that we have towards where nature wants to take us has an effect on the entire system. So you, me, everyone in all those places watching this right now, thinking about this together, wanting this to happen, we're bringing the future closer in a smoother and safer way for everyone in the world. So let's do this. And
Let's do it, man.
and let's see everyone
Beautiful.
again on Tuesday at 2 p.m.
All right, everyone, aim your hearts, no matter what you're doing out there, whether you are Malcolm in Cameroon. Hi, Malcolm in Cameroon, Africa. Wow. Philippa, Julia, Bright, Jacqueline. Hi, Eran. Lubov, Christy, Yael, Missa, Debbie. We said, everybody, please aim your hearts. It's in our hands. Waiting for a politician. We're not waiting for another virus. We're not waiting for anything. We're already smart enough to with it. We're not waiting for anything. We're determining our own future. Let's do it live from the quarantine. We are the quarantine. Thank you, Bright, for being here with us. Thank you, Maria, for helping with the content. Thank you, Denise, for organizing the show. And thank you, Asaf. You're amazing, inspiring. And we'll see you back here on Tuesday.
We'll see you on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Enjoy this song.
In the blink of an eye, it'll all disappear. And we'll turn from this world to a world without end, where each sin that we've sown will be shown in our favor. This is our life, this is our labor, till it's all one.